Good Monday evening, everybody. This is Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell in our new beautiful WHAS 11 streaming studio. It's powered by Humana. And of course, I'm on here tonight to talk about our weather impact alert. We are tracking snow across Kentucky and our first measurable snow of the season. So happy December, happy meteorological winter for all who celebrate. Obviously not looking to be snowmageddon here. We're not going to see a repeat of January or anything of that nature, but we are looking at a couple of inches of snowfall overnight that does look to impact that Tuesday morning commute. So I'm going to walk you through what the radar looks like right now, what we're expecting hour by hour through the overnight hours. And of course, the big question is, what is the snowfall amounts? What are the snowfall amounts? What is the snowfall prediction in terms of totals? And I'll have those details for you as well. But let's start with some of our graphics here. We have a weather impact alert. We've been talking about this for the past couple of days for tonight through Tuesday morning. That's because we are at the very least expecting slick spots, even on treated roads as we carry on into this evening and into tonight. And at the very most, of course, some strong snow showers, heavy at times really as we carry on into tonight and into early tomorrow morning. So I want you to plan for slow traffic, allow yourself some extra time to get where you need to go tomorrow morning, have that full tank of gas, and of course the WHAS 11 Plus app on hand as we carry on into tonight and into tomorrow. We have double teaming. We have Matt and Matthew. We also will have Reed Yaden out on the roads tomorrow morning tracking the latest for you. Here's our winter weather advisory that's in place starting this evening at 9 p.m., so not too long from now, taking us through 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We are expecting, once again, our first measurable snowfall for much of the area. We did have flurries earlier in the month. Well, I guess that was in November technically. Now it's December 1st, but we had flurries earlier in the season, and now we're expecting our first 1 to 3 inches of snowfall across Kentucky tonight and into early tomorrow morning. Big picture view of the winter weather advisory. You're seeing a lot of purple on the map here, really stretching from Missouri through Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Western Tennessee, Arkansas, through Ohio, and then areas off to the northeast. That's because this system will continue to track east and northeast as we carry on over the next 24 to 48 hours here, and it'll actually pick up in steam a bit as it does so. Let's take a look at that Max HD radar. So what we're looking at here, and you can tell it from the visual, is that we have that colder air, that snow that's ongoing off to our north, and then we have that steady rainfall that's moving in from the south. So really, these are two systems that are trying to phase together before they track east and northeastward here. And we've been paying close attention to this because depending on what model run that you've been looking at, it's been having the phasing at different timings. And of course that can really impact your snowfall totals by the end of the day. But you're looking at that rich moisture coming in from the south and then that cold air joining in from the north, really lining up right over Kentucky. And that's why this has been such a tricky forecast. The timing has been pretty consistent over the last several days here, but obviously we're looking at that specific, in terms of impacts and amounts that we're really trying to nail down here. Now, zooming in on the Max HD radar, it's trying to fill in just within the last half hour to hour here. So we've had some snow showers in central Indiana. They've already picked up a couple of inches around Indianapolis, but what we've actually had in play was high pressure, and high pressure brings dry air to the area, and that moisture, even if you see it on radar, sometimes it's a radar hole at first before that fills in. That's because there's moisture higher up in the atmosphere and it's still trying to make its way down to the surface. And I think the radar for a little bit is going to look messy like what you're seeing here. So light radar returns probably in terms of what's actually reaching the ground, but the colder stuff definitely north of the Ohio. The mixed bag could be down to the south. Did see some reports of rain mixing in with sleet down in Bowling Green within the last hour. But seeing some heavier radar returns around Bedford, so you might be seeing some snow there up to Seymour here as well, and we are expecting those snow showers to continue to fill in, all of this moving from west to east or southwest to northeast here. And then down to the south, this is where you're getting the greens, where it's trying to figure out what kind of precipitation this is. And we can look at other tools, something called correlation coefficient, and things of that nature to figure out if we have a mixed bag of precip, if we have uniform precipitation. But yes, some of us might see a brief wintry mix before this does transition all to snow overnight. And if you live south and southeast of the parkways, you have that better chance of this being a mixed bag at first before it does transition over to all snow. Now, dew points, as I mentioned, we've had some dry air at the surface. We've been very cold the last couple of days. Dew points starting to tick up, especially down to the south. So, that dry air is trying to be overcome here. And taking a look at the hour-by-hour futurecast, once again, more of that snow trying to fill into the north, more of that rain, or maybe mixing with sleet, something of that nature, filling into the south and southeast. And then it's that middle part, which does include, of course, the Louisville Metro, down to Shepherdsville, even closer to the parkways, where the radar takes maybe a little bit longer to fill in as those two systems that I was showing you try to pretty much phase together here. That radar does fill in over the next few hours. And then as we get around midnight or after, this is where we're expecting the heaviest snowfall for our particular area. So if we have a brief mix at first, maybe some sleet pellets here or there mixing in, this does look to transition to all snow overnight from north to south. That heaviest snow, I would say, between about midnight and 5 a.m. You're seeing where the model output shows some of those deeper blues. That's where we could see some heavier snowfall rates. So if for any reason your job takes you into work in the early morning hours, you work the overnight shift, just be especially cautious on the roads overnight, because we are expecting some decent snowfall rates, some lowered visibility, obviously slick spots on the roads. They've been out treating the roads all day. But the farther south and southeast you go, if you get any of that rain, that can wash away that pre-treat or that brine before the snow does fall. So I do think many of us will be seeing almost all snow, especially Louisville northward, but the farther south you go is when we could see that wintry mix before it transitions over to all snow. Now, this will push off to the east as we head into early tomorrow morning. So this is 6 o'clock in the morning. Most of that snow will be off to our east here, but we are still expecting impacts, and that's why we do have a weather impact alert day for tomorrow, at least the first half of the day, because we are going to be dealing with whatever fell overnight, right? And the sun doesn't rise now until about 7:40. We're not going to get a lot of that tomorrow. Temperatures will be hovering near that freezing mark, and it tends to be more difficult for temperatures to rise when you do have fresh snowfall, potentially cloud cover that wants to linger throughout the day tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be cold. Allow the crews to do what they need to do. I know many of us have to go into work, but those of you who have a quote typical work schedule, make sure you allow yourself extra time to get where you need to go tomorrow morning. So here's our snowfall forecast. Depending on who you watch, I'm going to pop myself up for this one. Depending on which meteorologist you watch, if you know enough to look at weather models yourself, you can look at weather models until you're blue in the face. You can look at every single run and see how they differ. Midday models coming in a little bit more moist. But I was also seeing some dry slotting trying to occur somewhere. And it's hard to pin down exactly where it was going to be. So for consistency's sake, I did stick with 1 to 3 inches across much of the area. Many of us could be closer to that 2 to 3 inch range. But I was worried that if we got any of that dry slotting in here, that can cut down on your totals. If these two systems didn't phase in time, that can cut down on your totals. But yes, on the backside of a low, you can also see banding. And some of the models, which I'll walk through with you, were showing some banding occurring, especially I would say Frankfort, Lexington, areas off to the north and east where we could get some of those higher amounts. That can be sneaky. It's hard to know exactly where those bands are going to set up until they're already set up. So know that many of us will fall between that 1 to 3 inch range. Lower amounts to the south, where obviously you're starting off with more rain. Sleet can really cut into snowfall totals. From experience, sleet can really cut into snowfall totals. But I feel fairly confident with this. It's a tricky setup. So once again, for consistency's sake, we are going to stick with that 1 to 3 inch range across Kentuckiana. Could it be 2 to 4? Sure, if you want to go with that. But I do think, many of us might be 2 to 3 and then isolated 4 inch bands, really setting up to the east and northeast. Once that system has phased together and continues to track off to the east. So that's when you start to see, the moisture and that cold air really coming in together at the same time. Sorry, I've been talking a lot today, so I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. But we're going to walk through some of the models here. So with my show and play, I can't even tell you which model is which right now, but I'm going to walk you through and show you the discrepancies here. So some of the models were really wanting to paint kind of a drier slot in portions of southern Indiana, which is interesting because this is where we have the coldest air. So you typically think, okay, where you have the coldest air, that's where you're going to have the highest snowfall totals. Not necessarily with this system, because actually the farther south that you go, the more moisture that you have. So some of those models were trying to get some drier air in here, maybe lower snowfall totals the farther north that you go. But once again, for the most part, I've kind of blended all these together, which gave us that 1 to 3 inch range. This one, okay, falls in line with a lot of our thinking. 1, 2, 3 inches. You can tell near Newcastle and Frankfurt, getting a little bit higher as well. And most of these models have a 10 to 1 inch snow ratio. So what that means is for every 1 inch of moisture, you get 10 inches of snowfall. Which, just a reminder that snowfall forecasting is very, very difficult, because if you're talking about moisture equivalents, if this were all rain, for example, some of these models have 0.2 inches of moisture over us. Some of them have 0.35. That's the difference between 2 inches and 3.5 inches of snowfall. So a very slight uptick in moisture can increase your snowfall totals. If the moisture just doesn't come as far north as expected, that can cut into snowfall totals. This is another model really showing, once again, that banding, wanting to set up those higher reports from Newcastle, Shelbyville, Frankfurt areas east and northeast. So that kind of fills in with the snowfall map that I have. And then let's take a look. This is all the stuff that I would never show on TV because this is too much information. But this goes to show you all the different outputs that we're seeing. You can kind of tell a lot of 2 inches, 2.5, maybe 3 inches. That's if our snowfall ratios are 10 to 1. Sometimes when you get higher temperatures and also a heavier wet snow, it actually produces less. So for the highest snowfall ratios, you really want cold, almost drier air in place. Another output very similar to what we've been talking about, 1 to 3 if you're going from county to county across our area, and then those higher amounts near Frankfurt and areas off to the northeast. So here's our snowfall forecast. Once again, 1 to 3 inches. I do think we could see some 4-inch reports that will be isolated in nature. Temperatures today did make it up into the upper 30s, which helps somewhat. But that ground is still cold. We've been very cold for the last several days. So we're not expecting a lot in terms of melting, especially because this is occurring overnight. So regardless, expect impacts to your commute. This is not Snowmageddon, but obviously this is our first measurable snowfall of the season. And so that's why there's been a lot of hype, I know, on social media. 7-day forecast here, weather impact alert. For the first half of tomorrow, I'm hoping for some better road conditions by the afternoon and evening. We stay chilly through the work week, lots of 30s out there with overnight lows in the 20s. So even if we get some melting with more sunshine on Wednesday, depending on how much snow we have out there, we could have refreezing each night, which can create slick spots. Does look like we'll have another front Thursday morning, mainly a dry one, but it could squeeze out some flurries, especially in southern Indiana. And then as we carry on into Sunday, we could be watching a clipper system. That's showing up on one of the models there, which is why we have a 40% chance. It looks like that system on Friday that we originally had is trending a bit more to our south. So that's some good news, but then we're watching that potential for late Sunday. So I do have the futurecast here. Here's that weather system off to our east by midday tomorrow. And then it's going to impact the northeastern states with actually a lot more snow and then a very chilly rain down through the Carolinas and Virginia. All that pushes off to the east and northeast. And then Wednesday's pretty quiet. We're actually going to get some sunshine in here. By Thursday morning, there's that front. It's hard to tell, but yes, we could get maybe some flurries out of that. And then that southern system, you can tell on Friday, that system's really trending down to the south, which is some good news there, because originally it looked like it was going to be, a rain-snow mix of some sort for us on Friday, but that's been trending more to our south. Even Saturday trending mostly quiet, and then there's your Sunday night into Monday morning. Now this is really only showing up on one of the models right now, so we'll keep a close eye on this, but this is what's called a clipper system, and that dives in from the northwest. So that can be a quick hit of snowfall for early next week. Obviously that's several days out, so that forecast can certainly change between now and then. But here's that 7-day forecast. Once again, first half of tomorrow, weather impact alert. Very chilly for the rest of the work week, with highs struggling to make it out of the 30s. And then we'll try to warm into the 40s this weekend, with potentially that clipper again late Sunday into early Monday. A reminder to send us your weather photos and videos, especially because this is looking to be our first measurable snowfall of the season. There's many different ways you can do so. You can text that number that you see there on your screen, 502-582-7290. You can email your photos to us at yourphotos@whas11.com. We also have a Facebook group. I have to let you in before you can post, but it's called Kentucky Indiana Cloud Watchers, and that's where we get a lot of our photos that we do show on air. So any three of those, there's your options there to send in your snow photos or videos as we get them late tonight and early tomorrow. Be sure to send them our direction, because we would love to show them on our social media, on our website, on air as well, and also on our weekly weather streaming show, Weather or Not. So be sure to send those our direction. I'm going to go back to the top now. And for anybody who hopped on here a little late, I'm also going to check the comments to see if anybody has any questions. This is my time to look at a few different things, including our NWS chat, to see if there's been any more reports. Really, the only reports that we've been seeing that I saw was in Warren County, mix of light rain and sleet. That was in Plano. The radar's trying to fill in. There's still some dry air out there, but we are expecting a slick Tuesday morning commute. All right. Okay, well, it doesn't look like there are any questions, so we are going to wrap things up here. Once again, we have a winter weather advisory in place across almost all of Kentucky. And really, Adair County is the only area that we don't have that winter weather advisory in place tonight through 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Does not mean it's going to snow that entire time. We could see an onset of wintry mix before a transition to all snow overnight. I'm expecting the heaviest snow between maybe 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. or so. That's when we're expecting most of our accumulation. And all of this snow really gets out of here by 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow morning at the very latest. But we are expecting those impacts to your Tuesday morning commute. So please stay warm, stay safe as you're out tonight and tomorrow. 1 to 3 inches of snow across much of the area. Some isolated reports of 4 inches, certainly possible after all is said and done. But be sure to send us your snowfall reports as we get that first snow of the season. And once again, thanks for watching me here in our Humana WHAS 11 streaming studio. This is Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell. Have a great and safe night.